That was amazing.
It's 12:50. We should get to Bruce.
You're right.
Yeah. All right. Hey, Bruce. Bruce, are you there? We always get into the most dumb shit when Bruce is in the waiting room. But anyways, Bruce, you a DP's guy?
Who doesn't love a Boston Brute? I don't know. Like
extra meat sauce. Let's go.
For sure. Nothing wrong with that top.
All right. There is one thing that we haven't touched on at all, and I was saving it for my first question to Bruce. I really liked what I saw from Philip Broberg last night. Was I seeing things? Was it shiny new toy effect, or was he really good?
No, he was good. I mean, it's I'm not that shocked personally, or I'm not surprised at all, quite frankly. I mean, first of all, one of the things I think, again, we all have short memories, and some of us, as we age, they get shorter. But he really had actually a very good stint with the Oilers at the start of the season. We just know what some of the other parts of what the other issues were with the Oilers at the start of the season. But him at a personal level, he was quite good. So I think the narrative around this being a risky choice probably should be more shaped around the fact he hadn't played in 40 days than whether he could compete at this level. I thought he was quite good at the early part of the year. Last night, he was exactly who you get from Philip Broberg, which is he defends the blue lines well. He defends with his stick, which is incredibly frustrating for other players. And he's a fantastic skater, which I think in this series is a really big deal because you're not playing the most fleet of foot forward group on the other side. And the second thing is they keep running this stretch play up the ice, and he's a guy who can recover, defend really well. So, I mean, I had asked for it a little earlier in the series, or at least thought that was a better choice than how they were deployed. Does it hold up for the remainder? We'll see. Maybe I'm drinking a little bit of my own Kool-Aid, but I think he'll be fine. I really don't have many worries. The true test, I guess, you would say is that you're going to go to Dallas. He's going to get matched. He's going to get matched by DeBoers. Let's see what happens assuming that him and CC are paired again. Let's see what happens. That's the only question that remains unanswered, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you think that's the right guy to play with him, CC? Or do you think there's just no other option, I guess?
It's an interesting question. I think honestly, and again, I mean, I don't really, obviously I don't have a direct line to the coaching staff or anything like that, but it made me wonder, the swap with Desharnais as opposed to CC my thinking there is how much youth / inexperience do you want in your lineup in the third round of the playoffs? And for whatever the criticisms of CC are, which they are many and legitimate, he's a veteran guy that at least what he brings and who he can bring it with. And, one of I think the underreported pieces on him, at least, or, maybe his agent should bring it up, is he's actually been really integral part of the PK. So I think honestly they looked at it and said, given that he's got some veteran experience, given that he maybe isn't PK1 with Vinny Desharnais, his numbers aren't that much different than Vinny Desharnais on the PK. So let's keep him in and use him. I don't think there's much other choice now. If you ask me in September of 2024, it's probably Matthias Ekholm, but that's a whole other topic.
Darnell Nurse sticking on the left side of the blue line. He was the whipping boy. He was the poster boy of criticism, had the spicy media veil, all that stuff. Was a two-pronged question here. When Darnell Nurse is effective and is close to his best, what is it about his game that allows him to be there? What do you see in his game that makes him an effective defenseman? And did we see him taking steps towards that in Game 4? Was Game 4 a bounce back in your eyes?
Well, it was a bounce back for sure. I mean, I thought he was excellent last night. That's I understand the narrative about the first 2 goals, but I mean, I wrote about this in my tactical review today. I mean, you can't fault him on either of those. One is just a complete fluke, and the other one didn't have anything to do with him. Has he had moments? Has he had very poor moments in this series? For sure. What I think with him, the key is for him to be aggressive. And I know that some people don't like that, but I do like that with him. His skating ability allows him to recover. I think when he gets into trouble is when he slows down and when he tries to think his way through plays. If he isn't the best athlete on the team, I'd be shocked if he isn't the second best athlete on that team. And he's a big body, long reach, and he should continue to use that. When he gets passive, I think is when he gets himself into trouble. I think a lot of that, in my opinion, has to do with confidence, which is crazy, given the number of games he's played and given the way he carries himself. He looks like, but you can just sort of see sometimes when it's not going well for him, that his first instinct is to back off because he's not quite sure that he can make the play. And I would just, especially against this team, I think the quicker that he decides to fill space between him and a Dallas Star, the better off he's going to be. So I like, and I guess the last part of what makes it better is when he defends by actually moving the puck out of the zone, either by just carrying it himself or activating off the weak side and getting a pass and taking it out, then he spends less time in his own zone, which is clearly where his, biggest challenges are. So be more aggressive, be more assertive. I would welcome that with him.
Do you think Ryan McLeod's a centerman or a winger?
Ooh.
I think he's a centerman. Even last night, the de facto, the line said he was the winger, but if you watch that game again, the number of times that he ended up down in the center position on the Draisaitl line, he defaults to that, and to some degree that happens with Draisaitl because Draisaitl is a bit of a rover in the defensive zone. So if it was Dylan Holloway ends up down there too. I think he's a center. He spaces like a center. He exits like a center. Someone said online last night, they like him better as a left winger because it takes pressure off him. What do you think, Bruce? And I said, well, right now, I just think he's playing with better players. And honestly, until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to stick with that. I like Warren Fogle and I like Corey Perry, but those have been his 2 most common partners, both in the regular season and in the playoffs. Should he carry them better? I don't know. There should be, there's some debate on that. I think when he plays with better players, he's better. And I think he would do that at center or left wing.
Follow-up question. Is Draisaitl a winger?
Is Draisaitl a winger center? Let's start doing our own research here, folks. But I think it is an interesting counterpoint to what we've always said of better on the wing, because every example of good production, you can just sit there and say, well, no. Is he doing better because he's on the wing, or is he doing better because, Leon Draisaitl's on his line now and he has a high-end player to play with? I do think that's a really interesting kind of counterpoint. Next one I got for you, Bruce, it's actually coming in on our Great Clips inbox. It's our Great Clips inbox question. More than 4,000 hair salons across the United and Canada, and your time is important, which is why you can use the Great Clips check-in app. See the wait time, check in on your phone, get your haircut when you want. GreatClips.com. Great Clips. It's gonna be great. It was a hell of a swing by Knobloch to bring McLeod and Perry back in the lineup, play him with Leon Draisaitl on the second line. And not just that, I thought it was maybe going to be like a 1 or 2 shift, all right, let's get him going, and then we're going to go back to our usual kind of run and put McLeod down with Henrique and Perry and move back up Holloway and Kane. Your question, same lineup on Friday in game 5, or would you make some changes if you're Knobloch?
No, I think you run the same lineup back. I really think that was that was the best 200-foot performance by that forward group in some time. And, you know, I think you're hard pressed to change any of that. I also think it's quite noticeable that while, you know, we've got the lines posted here, what Knobloch does, which is, to me, is incredibly impressive, is his ability or instinct on the fly to make some changes. And I highlighted this morning in the article. You know, the last two shifts of the game for the Draisaitl line was Holloway and McLeod on that line in high leverage minutes, defending a lead. And I think his read is that Corey Perry maybe not as, you know, didn't bring enough speed. Dylan Holloway has been an absolute monster on the wall in his own zone and actually in the offensive zone. And, you know, so for, you know, 4 minutes last night or 3 minutes last night, he flipped those lines and they were incredibly effective. And I think, you know, he does that very well. And this setup here allows him to do a lot of different things. You know, you can move Henrique to wing, you can move McLeod back to center. We obviously know we have the nuclear option. You know, Holloway can slide up and down that lineup. I would not change. I like this lineup, and I like the flexibility it gives the coach to make changes in game, which he does very well.
Last one I got for you. You mentioned it earlier, but your tactical review of Game 4 is up now at Oilersnation.com. Let's throw that in the YouTube description as well so people can give it a read once we wrap up the show. Is there anything tactically or in their approach that the Oilers did differently / better from games 2 and 3 to Game 4?
Yeah, I mean, remember, I think Game 2 gets a bit of a bad rap because they were actually quite good in that game tactically. Game 3 was a total schmoz, and right across the board. And we talked about that. I could, you know, I listed the top six forwards and the top 4 defensemen as making major mistakes. And anytime you do that against a really good team in the third round of the playoffs, you're going to lose. You know, that just happens, right? Sometimes, fortunately, you know, you're fortunate if it doesn't happen, but in this case it did. Mostly what they did was they owned the middle of the ice better. And what I mean by that, Dallas very clearly came into the series with a plan of stretching the ice to, I think, try to exploit 2 parts of the Oilers game. One is the defensive foot speed. You know, Darnell Nurse, good skater, but Matthias Ekholm, not a great skater. Evan Bouchard, not a great skater. CC, you know, Kulak, good skater. So I think to take advantage of that, and also to take advantage of the undisciplined or lack of discipline approach to the forecheck in the offensive zone with the Oilers. In other words, a lot of times they bring all 3 forwards down very low. And I think the look here is okay, let's just stretch the ice. We're going to have big gaps of ice in the middle because the forwards are all low and we have slow-footed defensemen that we can attack. What the Oilers did last night, I thought exceedingly well, was keep a man forward high in the middle of the ice. You know, I can only think of 2 instances when it didn't happen, and they led to pretty quick counterattacks. And make sure that the weak side defenseman, the safety valve defenseman, if you want to call him, played above, for the most part, the puck or the player that was stretching. Sometimes Dallas had a guy at the blue line, but not that often. And I think as long as they do that, I think they'll be fine. The big thing with the Oilers, in my opinion, is they sometimes rush to their offense. And I don't think they have to do that against this team. And what I mean by that is they want to attack immediately, and they want to attack all hands on deck to the net. And that leaves them prone to giving up time and space to other teams. And I think they have more than enough offense that if they just remain disciplined and composed, those chances are going to avail themselves, especially against a team now that may not have Chris Tanev at 100% or at all in Game 5. and just play that composed way. And when your opportunities come, capitalize.
Yeah, Chris Tanev. I mean, in the walking boot at the airport today, like
Mhm.
you're not in a walking boot the day after a game if your injury can get back to 100% by Friday at 6 o'clock Mountain or 7 o'clock Central, whatever time the game is. Like, it's clearly significant, and that'd be obviously a massive blow for Dallas. Bruce, appreciate your time as always. It is always an education. His tactical review is up now at Oilersnation.com, so you can go give that boy a read through. He's got the clips all loaded up in there. Very, very good work. Bruce, we appreciate your time.
Thanks very much. Happy to be here anytime. See you guys.
There you go. There's Bruce Curlock.
What's up, Nation citizens? If you like that video, then you need to be subscribed to the Oilers Nation YouTube. Podcasts, live shows, exclusive interviews, and analysis. Everything you need from your favorite voices at Oilers Nation. And you don't want to miss any of it, so hammer that subscribe button.